the CHCH television system, this is Newsroom, Late Edition.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ed Doyle. In the news, Hamiltonians are talking proud tonight. Nearly 3 years after the first shovel went into the ground, Hamilton's new $42 million Copps Coliseum was officially opened. The day was dreary with a misty rain falling on the crowd that lined up early to enter the new facility at mid-morning for the opening celebration. Some 45 minutes before the official events got underway, the jelly bean-colored seats were better than half full. And the spectators were not disappointed with what they came to see.
I think it's great because now Hamilton's on the map. It's just wonderful.
I just came down because my son's singing in the choir, and I had no intention of coming, but now I've seen it. I think it's fabulous.
Do you think you'll come back?
Certainly, yeah. Especially if we get a NHL franchise, you know.
Overall, do you think it was worth the wait?
Oh, yes, every minute of it. I do. Very, very nice.
Do you think that the NHL is going to be in here soon?
I would hope so.
I think it's really nice. It's good that Hamilton finally has somewhere to go for groups and stuff to come down, so.
Was it worth the wait and the money?
Yeah, really it was.
There was entertainment right from the start with a pleasing performance by some sword dancers of the Scottish tradition. The entourage of official, politicians, and dignitaries filed in shortly after that. And it's perhaps fitting that the Queen was represented by Lincoln Alexander, the new Lieutenant Governor, who also is a citizen of Hamilton. After the Lieutenant Governor reviewed some military cadets, Mayor Bob Morrow welcomed Hamilton to its magnificent Arena Trade Center.
Welcome to Canada's newest and best Trade Center arena. Welcome to our own Copps Coliseum. The dream is here.
Throughout 2.5 hours, there was entertainment of various sorts, interspersed with brief comments from local, provincial, and federal politicians. And there were words as well from the Lieutenant Governor.
I'm very delighted to stand here as Her Majesty's representative in and for the province of Ontario in order to bring you sincerest greetings and congratulations for a job well done, and may this day be the beginning of bigger and even better things for the metropolitan area of Hamilton. Thank you very much.
The Minister of State for Finance, Barbara McDougall, was here on behalf of Ottawa and took a bit of a poke at the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm also looking forward to the day when you do in Hamilton have a National Hockey League franchise. We do need in Ontario a professional hockey team.
Lily Monroe represented the provincial government, and Mrs. Victor K. Copps, Geraldine, had these remarks.
This Coliseum, then, is a tribute to every one of you. That it bears the name of my husband is an honor he would love. And for all of our family, we thank you for that recognition.
After more entertainment, the official ribbons were cut.
1, 2, 3, go.
Hamilton now has a professional facility and now awaits a professional team from the NHL. And most people feel that's only a matter of time. And by the way, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, TV 11 will broadcast today's opening ceremonies and tonight's NHL Old Timers hockey game. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock on TV 11. In other news, one of the heroes of the cultural community is back in charge in Ottawa. Marcel Masse has rejoined the Mulroney cabinet as Federal Communications Minister. Newsroom's George Appleton reports from Ottawa.
Marcel Masse made no secret about wanting his old job back. He arrived at Government House for his swearing-in ceremony a full 30 minutes ahead of the Prime Minister. He too wanted Masse back in the controversial communications portfolio. But Brian Mulrooney had to wait for the results of the RCMP's investigation into Maas's election campaign. While vacationing in Florida in the second week of November, PMO staff say Mulrooney repeatedly called Ottawa to see if Maas had been cleared. However, Mulrooney and Maas had to wait for 2 RCMP reports to hear charges of election overspending were dropped. During his first 12 months in office, Maas established a reputation as a cultural nationalist. Today, he said those policies still stand.
As long as the government have not changed the policy already accepted in Bécomo last July, as member of cabinet, the policy stand.
Brian Mulrooney had just returned from the First Ministers' Conference in Halifax with a loosely worded agreement with the provinces on free trade. He did not want to talk directly about Maas's views.
Look, he's just been sworn back into the... I'm a nationalist, so I support nationalists. And so you can't be a conservative and a Quebec conservative and not be a nationalist.
George Appleton, Independent Satellite News, Ottawa.
Niagara Regional Council elected a new chairman this afternoon. The former Lord Mayor of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Wilbert Dick, was elected by a margin of 17-12 on the 7th ballot. Dick replaces former chairman John Campbell, who stepped down earlier this month after serving in office for 16 years. Shortly after his victory, Dick was asked what would be his major priority.
Well, I see my first priority after this vote this afternoon is to make sure that we're all working together as a team, and from there on we'll decide out the program for the next 3 years.
Bitter cold temperature could not deter about 400 people from attending the funeral for 2 Canadians killed in the Egyptair hijacking last weekend. Members of the tiny east central Alberta community of Bicycle braved -20-degree temperatures today as they paid their last respects to 27-year-old Valinda Leonard and her 16-month-old son Andrew. Meanwhile, some of the survivors of that Saturday hijacking of the Egyptian airliner returned to Egypt today along with the bodies of 15 of their fellow passengers. Bonnie Anderson reports from Cairo.
They were tears of joy, of relief. 1 week after the hijacking, the 7 surviving Egyptian passengers and 5 crew members returned home to a warm and emotional welcome.
I'm happy that I'm here again.
Those with minor injuries were helped by friends and relatives. 2 Egyptian commandos who were seriously hurt in the raid were rushed into ambulances as the crowd hailed them as heroes. But nearby, at another corner of the airport, there was nothing but anguish, as the relatives of the 15 Egyptians who died during the commando attack claimed the bodies of their loved ones. Some families held prayer services in their neighborhood mosques. Others led street processions to the cemetery, chanting, "There is only one God." Egyptian officials, meanwhile, are not commenting on Libyan accusations that Egypt is planning a full-scale attack. The Egyptian military presence along the border has indeed increased, but observers here say troops are routinely placed on full alert whenever relations with Libya are this tense. Bonnie Anderson, NBC News, Cairo.
There's word from Cairo that a second hijacker may have survived the Egyptian commando raid in Malta. The pilot of the Boeing 737 told Egyptian TV today that a second hijacker is in hospital in Malta due to a nervous breakdown. If the polls are correct, Monday's provincial election in Quebec will result in a change of government. 4 polls released today show Robert Bourassa's Liberals leading the Parti Québécois by a significant margin. Canada's First Minister spent 2 days in Halifax discussing a range of topics, and the provinces have won a partnership with Ottawa in free trade talks between Ottawa and the United States. Newsroom's Dan Rath reports the conference also dealt with decreases in payments for universities and health care.
This is Peterson's second appearance at a meeting of premiers, but his first serious challenge as he tries to stop cuts topping $150 million next year.
It's important to our post-secondary education. It's important to McMaster, to Western, to the University of Toronto. It's important to the healthcare system. It's an enormous amount of money at stake, $2 billion over the next 5 years.
As he arrived at the opening session, there was a quick, friendly handshake. But before Peterson could speak, the Prime Minister revealed a pledge made in a private meeting with Conference Chairman John Buchanan, a pledge that there will be no cutbacks.
Transfer payments will not be cut. Indeed, these payments will increase faster than inflation and faster than most other areas of federal expenditures.
The promise failed to calm Peterson's fears. While the transfers will still outpace inflation, their rate of growth will be cut. Ontario says the promise means no change. The province will still lose money.
There's no fat to trim in these programs. We're seeing increasing utilization, and further reductions will cut us right into the bone. For that reason, we will propose specifically that the federal government live up to its commitment to genuine consultation by deferring the post-secondary education and health cuts scheduled to be moved up to April of next year.
Each of his fellow premiers came in turn to Peterson's side. All are expecting cuts they say will force compromises in the quality of health and education. But Quebec's Pierre-Marc Johnson went one step further and stole the show from Peterson. Johnson had a concrete proposal for negotiations to limit Ottawa's capacity to act on its own to make transfer cuts, a stronger request than Peterson's that placed Mulroney on the spot. But the Prime Minister refused to back down or agree to Peterson's bid for a deferral.
We first and foremost inflicted the pain on ourselves and began the process of bringing federal spending under control. Not perfectly, but in a very real way before turning to the provinces, took it out on ourselves on the federal level.
In Halifax, Dan Rath, TV 11 Newsroom.
Well, Chris Lucas says the weather will be yuck. And Ken Welch has highlights of tonight's old-timer game at the Copps Coliseum and much more. Stay with us.
Mercedes-Benz has engineered a stunning new line of performance automobiles for 1986, but none more stunning than this. Introducing the 300e sedan, a bold forward leap in performance technology, creating a new class of performance automobile. The 300e sedan for 1986. Mercedes-Benz widens the gap.
You can choose frozen beef, or you can choose fresh ground beef. Choose fresh. Choose Wendy's. You can choose rehydrated onions among the toppings, or you can choose fresh onions and other fresh toppings. Choose fresh. Choose Wendy's. You can choose a hamburger kept warm under heat lamps, or you can choose a hamburger served fresh, hot off the grill. Choose fresh. Choose Wendy's.
At Bell, the name of the game is perfection. Perfection that moves you around the world as easily as around the corner. Perfection that brings you imaginative new choices in phones and services. Perfection that means you get what you pay for. If you're looking for a present with a future, come to Bell, where perfection is the only game we play.
Overnight, all over Canada. Anywhere you want it to go, just hand it to Gelco. Gelco Express, overnight or sooner, you've got to hand it to Gelco. Gelco Express.
Multiculturalism Minister Otto Jelinek says he doesn't want to insult Japanese Canadians by giving them money. He has ruled out individual payments for Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. Large corporations are being asked to voluntarily limit the amount of overtime their workers are allowed. Ontario Labour Minister Bill Rye says the government hopes that cutting excessive overtime will lead to additional employment. But he warns that if no voluntary action is taken, he may be forced to ask the ministry's Director of Employment Standards to restrict permits authorizing overtime hours. Rye says a meeting is planned for next week with Stelco officials to discuss the overtime situation. Now let's have a look at tonight's weather, and here's Chris Lucas. Chris?
Well, we had enough rain today. Unfortunately, more rain is headed our way for tomorrow. On our satellite maps from this afternoon, you can see considerable cloud cover in our area. Now, what is happening is we do have a high-pressure system, and that would bring clearing skies. However, it is moving on a northeasterly track, which means it will reach northern Ontario. However, it's going to bypass us completely. So for the next couple of days, more of the same wet weather. And it's all thanks to this low-pressure system south of Salt Lake City. What is happening is that system is still developing, and as it is doing so, it is gaining in easterly winds. The winds will be picking up considerably by Monday, and the temperatures will be turning cooler as well. Directly in front of this low pressure system, as it moves towards the Great Lakes, is the winds and some shower activity. So by tomorrow, today we had off and on drizzle. It wasn't too heavy, but by tomorrow rain should be fairly steady, beginning sometime around the noon hour as that low pressure system heads our way, and it should be here directly over Lake Erie by noontime tomorrow. Now for Monday, we have a high pressure system way up there in the northwest, and what is happening, that is the cold Arctic air associated with that high pressure system. So far this fall hasn't been that cold, but come Monday we're really going to feel the cold temperatures of winter. It's really going to be our first taste. That's when the blast of Arctic air should hit us, and sometime Monday, possibly Tuesday as well. On our close-up map, not much anything different here to show you. You can see the cloud cover, fairly low cloud cover in the Hamilton area, and some fog. In fact, there is fog throughout most of southern Ontario. However, it's a little more thick here in Hamilton because of the winds off the lake. And the fog, that's where it is coming from because of the moisture on the Great Lakes. Also the snow that is still left on the ground, that is helping to cool the air down a little bit, and there is some warm air coming from the upper atmosphere. So those three elements basically bring us condensation. That's where we're getting the fog and the drizzle from this evening. On our national conditions map, you can see precipitation just about everywhere, especially in the Midwestern United States, right out to the eastern seaboard. Let's take a look at Canada. In Vancouver, not too bad today. They had a partly cloudy day, temperatures about -4. In Alberta, some snow activity in Edmonton and Calgary, and very cold. Today at about 3 o'clock, it was only at -19, -20 degrees Celsius. Moving into Regina and Manitoba, about -15. Moving right into the Great Lakes, you can see all the precipitation, a lot of snow activity, showers as well, and some freezing drizzle. We still do have the chance of that in Hamilton tonight. Moving out to the east coast, some scattered showers, some flurry activity, and freezing rain as well. Here's the official forecast as issued by Environment Canada. Cloudy tonight with drizzle, fog patches, chance of freezing drizzle, the low near 1 or 34 degrees Fahrenheit. For tomorrow, cloudy with rain developing by the afternoon, strengthening easterly winds, the high of 5 Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And for Monday, the rain will end, however, turning windy and much colder. The current conditions, humidity is 100%. Winds are out of the northeast at 10 kilometers per hour. The barometer is holding steady. The present temperature, it's actually gone up from 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 3 Celsius or 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to have to put up with the rain at least until Monday. Back to you, Ed.
Okay, the Copps Coliseum welcomed some of hockey's all-time greats tonight, and the Maple Leafs played Buffalo. Ken has those stories and more when we come back.
The Hamilton Auto Club presents the Christmas gift card that gives so much more. An HAC membership card means a year's worth of fast, efficient, 24-hour emergency road service. Big savings at the club's full-service travel agency. Free maps, tour books, and personalized routings. No service charge traveler's checks. Savings on car rentals, auto repairs, merchandise, and so much more. Buy the perfect Christmas gift right now and save $10 off a personal master membership. Give the gift that keeps on giving, a Hamilton Auto Club membership.
If you're a hazelnut, a Brazil nut, an almond, pecan, and cashew nut, you'll probably be a nachos nut. Because when you taste those chunks of crunchy nuts smothered in rich milk chocolate, you'll know why nachos are guaranteed to drive you nuts. Nuts.
A new era of energy begins. And this new energy will give you more hours of music, more flash, more sound, more light, more motion than ever before. In fact, it's the most powerful piece of energy we've ever wrapped our name around. The new Energizer, putting more energy in the palm of your hand.
This weekend, for one day only, the Starving Artists Group presents a spectacular show and sale of original oil paintings, all at rock-bottom prices. See a huge new collection of oil paintings by talented professional artists, most priced from $7 to $29, with nothing over $49. If you have a bare wall in your home or just want to brighten your room, come to the Starving Artists Show and Sale with nothing over $49.
This Sunday only, 12 noon to 5 p.m., Hamilton Convention Center. Holiday Inn, Warden and 401, Holiday Inn Airport, and Holiday Inn Oshawa. Admission is free.
Good evening, everyone. Well, the ice and the Zamboni machine got their first real test tonight as the hockey greats from days gone by warmed up the brand new Copps Coliseum. With the play-by-play, here's Norm Marshall.
And it'll be Lowell McDonald coming back. McDonald with John Mizik. Mizik to McDonald. McDonald in front. They score! Murray Oliver. Porter tried to drop it back. He was looking for Johnny Gofton, missed him, and the Hawks bring it back in. Stan Mikita, number 10, they score! Mikita dumped it right in front of the net. Hawks were trying to set up Esposito, that they had the pass picked off in the center zone. Back again to the line. The drop pass to the point, the shot by Bob Wall, they score! It was tipped in front of the net. Back to Mikita, back to Stapleton. Some of the old puck magic, they can move it. Here's the pass on the wing. And finally the shot, the rebound. McDonald shoots and scores! Pat McDonald coasting in on a three-way play. Mikita working with McDonald. 22 is Dick Redmond. Drop pass for Redmond. Redmond trying to close in, score! It was deflected in front, and I think that Dennis Hull will get credit for the goal. Puck shot off the backboard by Rob Young, being kept in. This is Eddie Hatoum behind the net. Hatoum. Now Menard right in front. They bang in the tying goal, and that's Danny Lawson.
Just like the old days. Thank you very much, Norm. Did you notice Phil Esposito on the bench getting recharged? So the result at the Copps Coliseum tonight, St. Kitts 3 and the Red Wings Old-Timers 3. Well, in the NHL tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs hosted the Buffalo Sabres. Both teams were trying to break out of slumps. The Maple Leafs had lost 2 straight games and the Sabres 3. Now this game gets off to a rousing start when 2 of hockey's heavyweights, Mirko Freecher and Phil Housley, wrestle in behind the Sabres net. Hulk Hogan and Uncle Elmer, these guys are not. In the second period, with the game scoreless, Brad Smith feeds Tom Fergus. He squirts up the middle and tests Sabres goalie Darren Pupa, but Pupa is there to make the save. The Leafs open the scoring at the 6:16 mark of the second period. Marion Stastny down the right wing. He feeds Mirko Freecher, and he blasts his 8th goal of the season. The Leafs' Peter Inachek wins an expenses-paid trip to the Gardens Clinic on this play. Mike Ramsey drills him into the boards and glass. Inachek cuts his head and leaves the game to get stitched up. At 16:55 of the second, the Sabres tie it up. Leafs goalie Don Edwards gets tangled up with Mike Foligno, and Gilbert Perreault is there, and he beats a diving Edwards. It's 1-1. We pick it up in the third period with the Leafs winning 2-1. Gates Orlando scores his 5th goal of the season. It's a tie game and it heads into overtime. And the winning goal is scored by Steve Thomas. Recently called up from St. Catharines, he scores his 2nd goal of the game 26 seconds into the overtime period. And the Maple Leafs pull out a 3-2 win over Buffalo. So the Sabres really having their troubles right now. Their 4th straight loss. The Maple Leafs with a big win. Thomas with 2 goals, Freecher 1. Orlando and Perreault for Buffalo. And look at this one. Montreal demolished Detroit 10-1. Guy Carbonneau and Sergio Momesso scored twice for the surging Habs. Peter Stastny and Randy Moeller with the goals as the Nordiques blanked the Bruins for the 2nd consecutive time with Clint Larchuk in goal, 2-0. Greg Adams with 2 goals for the Capitals. Washington beats New Jersey 6-2. Pittsburgh pulled one out against the Rangers 5-4. Wayne Gretzky had a goal and 3 assists to move ahead of Bobby Hull on the NHL career points list. He is now 13th. It was Edmonton 8-5 over Hartford. Final just in on this one, St. Louis pulls out a 4-3 win over Minnesota. Calgary, 4-3 over the Islanders. Chicago and LA just getting underway out on the West Coast. Well, the #1 ranked University of Western Ontario Mustangs were favored, as we turn to football now, we're favored to win the Vanier Cup this afternoon in Toronto, but the Calgary Dinosaurs had other ideas, and they beat the Mustangs 25-6 to win the CIAU championship.
First down,
Western gets things going first. Early in the first quarter, All-Canadian quarterback Steve Samways and Split and John Moffat team up for a 47-yard pass completion deep into Calgary territory, and Moffat, if he had kept his balance, would have made it in for the touchdown. But that does set up the first touchdown of the game. Samways with a 5-yard scoring strike to Rick Wolkensberg just over the Calgary defender's hands. An impressive 91-yard touchdown drive for the Mustangs. The extra point was missed. Early in the second quarter now, Samways goes to the air once again, but look for Calgary linebacker Wade Buteau. He's there for the interception, and this play turns the game around. A key play. Moments later, quarterback Lou Lork swings a pass to Mike Soroshka, one of the heroes of Calgary's 1983 Vanier Cup victory, and it's touchdown, and Calgary goes ahead 8-6. The Dinosaurs take a 15-6 lead into the dressing room at halftime. Halfback Elio Jeremiah plunges over from 1 yard out. Fourth quarter action now. Lorick floats a pass, and look at this thing flutter. It's dying fast, but it reaches its destination in the end zone. Number 24, Randy Guy pulls it in. 17-yard touchdown for the Calgary Dinosaurs. They go ahead 25-6, and that is how the game ends, and the Dinosaurs upset Western for their second Vanier Cup in 3 years. And finally, 56-year-old Arnold Palmer had an early case of the yips, but he recovered to become the big winner on the first day of the Skins game out in California. He won 3 holes, $45,000. Tom Watson had won 2, $30,000. Nicholas won $15,000, and $100,000 is on the line for the first hole tomorrow. And that is a look at sports, and Ed will be back with more news after this.
Burger King now begins a nationwide search for Herb, the one man who's never tasted a Burger King burger.
Herb was never what you'd call
Normal. Herb has never learned to love flame broiling instead of frying.
Herb was unusual. Herb was different.
Herb has never enjoyed this sizzling Whopper.
Pull yourself together.
Herb, wherever you are, start asking yourself, aren't you hungry for Burger King, Herb?
Superb jewelry that tells superb time.
The Longines 1000.
A watch that is sheer luxury on your wrist.
The feel of gold and silk.
The Longines 1000 delivers hairline Swiss quartz accuracy. It is water resistant, but most of all, this is superb jewelry, and it makes a great gift.
Oh, I was hoping for a Longines.
The Longines 1000 for men and women. Superb.
Would you get a great-looking truck just for the looks? Nah. You'd get it because it's a great working truck. Here's great-looking new Chevy Wrangler from GM, Canada's #1 in truck sales. It saves you up to $2,190 with Wrangler options packages. $2,190. Tough, sure, but tough's not enough. New Chevy Wrangler has the power, the payload, the build, and the looks for $2,190 less. That's the Chevy way to go. Way to go, Chevy.
September evening and we're leaving for the ballet. The night we had our escapade. We got some time and so we find a little cafe. The night we had our escapade. They bring the wine and she says it's très enchanté. The night we had our escapade. Like the wine, the night was fine. On to the ballet. The night we had our escapade.
Well, just before we go, a quick word from Chris on the weather. Chris?
Drizzle continuing overnight, still the slight chance of freezing rain. For tomorrow, rain beginning by the afternoon, the high of 5 or 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Now for Monday, the rain will end, however, it will turn windy and a lot colder. That's the weather word, Ed.
Okay, thanks very much. And Ken?
Well, I just want to thank the TV 11 crew for getting those great highlights from the arena tonight. The first game of the Copps Coliseum, 3-3 tie, St. Catharines Old Timers and the Red Wing Old Timers.
Okay, we'll see it all tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Thanks for being with us on Newsroom. On behalf of Ken and Chris and everyone at Newsroom, have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.